Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the day 3, session 3 of Metal to Manufacturing 2021 at VNIT. And to update you, this session will be taken by Dr. Nitin Kumar Lautre, a faculty in the Department of Mechanical Engineering in VNIT Nagpur. So first of all, I should thank Lautre sir for accepting my request at the last minute. Yesterday evening, we came to know that the speaker who was supposed to give today, he was not well and he could not be able to do it. So I requested Lautre sir and he has kindly accepted to deliver his lecture. And he works on cold metal transfer, which is a part of your metal additive manufacturing. This is also one of the technique. And Professor Lautre has wide variety of experience working at Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Later, he joined at VNIT Nagpur. His interests are in additive manufacturing and also the microwave machining operations also. So he did his PhD from IIT Roorkee, and currently he is working on the cold metal transfer. Recently, he was awarded a DST grant for the project on this the metal additive manufacture. So I thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting me. So hope I am audible, no, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, sir. Sir, you have 1 hour 15 minutes, and 15 minutes we will leave for the questionnaire actually.
Okay, sir. No issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I thank you everyone for the participation. I wish you should post a lot of questions because this is a new area where people are started working on this type of additive manufacturing. Okay, so thank you, sir, and the now you can share your experiences. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Fine. Thank you very much, TVK sir. And first of all, I'm like grateful to you for giving me this opportunity and trusting me, like without any second thought that yes, I could be like acting as a filler element. Why I'm telling about filler element is because my work is like in the area of CMT, which highly depend on filler material. So I'm really thankful to you for giving me this opportunity. Rarely we get these type of opportunities, and hopefully I meet your expectation. So is it compulsory to keep this video on because you understand the bandwidth problem?
No, not required, sir. Not maybe at the end we can have video on.
Right,
We can take a
right.
photograph.
Surely we could have that.
Not required,
So
sir. Video you can switch off.
So I have switched on this video just to give you a confirmation that this lecture is not delivered by a robot, it's delivered by a human being. And if that is verified, I would like to switch off this video and then we'll continue with our regular session. Okay. So let us start. So today, first of all, good afternoon to everyone who is there and my best wishes for this course. And let's start directly on our topic. The topic on which we will have a discussion is metal additive manufacturing. But I will talk with the perspective of cold metal transfer and specifically this methodology which I will be presenting. We have done this work on two different metals like 316 stainless steel and CRNO electrical steel. So hopefully I will focus more on 316L stainless steel, and if time permits, we can switch over to the other part of the additive manufacturing with the CRNO as our base material or substrate. Okay. So this will be our contents where I will be talking a little bit about additive manufacturing to my context and then little bit of history. So although I am not sure whether we have covered this aspects or not, if ever we have covered that thing, you can take it as a revision. And then I will talk about cold metal additive manufacturing, which is slightly different than cold metal transfer welding or additive manufacturing process. And then we'll discuss something about the performance evaluation of this process. And if time permits, I will like to present you the case study which has been like completed by one of my PhD student, Dr. Dharmik, in recent months. So this is on condition basis if time permits. Okay. So let's start with the introduction. Let's start with our basic additive manufacturing. So as you know, this additive manufacturing we are like using just because we have some specific objective, and that objective is we want to create an object, okay, by adding material. So we are very much clear that we are going to add something, and how we are going to add, and with what quality we are going to add, that all depends on the material, the surroundings, and the processes. Okay, so obviously adding simply the material, okay, doesn't give us that much freedom that it is so simple process. So obviously we have to search for different methods, different procedures, and CMT, cold metal transfer, is one of that metal transfer process basically, but it is widely used in additive manufacturing also. Okay. But here you can see what is important here is every time we believe that whatever we are adding has to be in layers. It's not true. Okay, it could be a point addition where you are making heaps one over the others, like say you are piling up bubbles. So it's not that every time we have to believe on layers. Okay? We can do in other way also. Or like we can just overlap two things, maybe just like your part or joint. Still, that would also be called as additive manufacturing. And why I'm discussing all this thing is this process has that potential to go in other way around. Instead of depositing layer by layer, you can even deposit from sideways also. Recently, our students were successful in developing a circular disc by depositing the material from sideways. Otherwise, we have a conventional understanding that we have to like make this heap or layers one over the other in a vertical direction. So we are just like challenging that thing, and we say that okay, fine, horizontal buildup of material is also possible as we do in vertical manner. Okay. Now people usually get little bit confused with additive manufacturing and 3D printing, and most of the time they take it as the same thing, whereas our understanding is slightly different. We say that whenever you are working in 3 dimension like domain using this additive manufacturing principles, we say yes, you are like going for 3D printing. Mostly this 3D printing word is application oriented, whereas this additive manufacturing is like, a theoretical concept. So now we can conclude that yes, fine, this 3D printing is one part of additive manufacturing. However, in most of the places you'll find they are taken synonymous to each other. So with this basic understanding, I thought I should emphasize on this also, because this thing we are going to see in real sense using this cold metal transfer process. Okay. So as I discussed earlier, that there are various factors. It's not simply adding material. You have to like look after the material selection part, the surface finish which you want, the durability, the manufacturing speed, and finally the cost. So under these all constraints, you may find one process suitable for certain of factors, whereas other factors may not be justifying them with that percentage what you are looking for. But anyhow, it all depends on your application. What are your application, and how you can optimize these factors. As per that, you should have a choices of selecting the processes. Okay. So let's talk about additive manufacturing processes which are used widely, which are well established. Okay. But there is one more very peculiar thing about additive manufacturing process where we actually rely on these processes whenever we want to do any internal modification. This internal modification is a major constraint in your conventional manufacturing processes. The reason is very clear. If you take a simple example of your lathe machining, okay, so let's say this your workpiece is revolving, so your tool has to enter from outside. Okay, in some cases you will find if you want to do boring and all these things, you have to see that your tool is taking a particular path and reaching to that position or that location where you are going to perform the machining. Now imagine that if this is very small, how complex the things becomes and how complex your tool selection and your other factors depends. So we have certain constraints here, whereas this internal modification is not that difficult if you like switch over your whole manufacturing process with additive philosophy or additive fundamentals. So this thing also like can find it very useful as compared to your conventional manufacturing processes, where mostly we are like having a good flexibility to do internal modification. Okay, that flexibility is like a major hindrance if you are taking a normal process or conventional process, because most of the time you have to ensure that your tool is reachable to intricate parts or like intricate location, which is a really a challenging thing in your conventional process. So we already have established processes in additive manufacturing, and most of the speaker might have discussed some of the processes like digital light process, direct metal laser sintering process, EBM, fuse deposition modeling. So we have the idea of presenting all these processes. We have some choices here. It's not that we are having only one or two process, but the idea of presenting this process is nowhere you'll find the process which we are like discussing or deliberating today is CMT, the cold metal transfer process. Okay, it's still finding the way, okay, as a process which can be considered as an established process. So we are still struggling to see the CMT as well established process, used as an established process by some industry with that much of confidence. So you can understand that still there is a lot of scope in this domain where we can like contribute lot many things to the research community, that yes, this things can be done, and you as per application we can like solve many problems, okay, as per the requirement or application. Okay, so we are not going to touch all these processes. Obviously, it's not the scope of presentation also, but the idea here is I have to show you where our process is or where we are working. So we can say that our process is not that established or that not that popular as you see in this list. So we are struggling, or the process is struggling to get a place, okay, and considered as an established process in this whole list of available additive manufacturing processes. Now, this detailing of this process, where it is used and for what purpose, it is very well published. Okay? And as per ISO 2010, okay, every process has been like recommended, properly recommended for specific application. As you can see, like some process required some specific extrusion fundamentals, so we have FDM process. Okay, then some process requires some laminated layer processing, so we have LOM process, laminated object manufacturing processes, then multiple jet fusion. So these all are well established, well recommended process as per the application, like multiple jet fusions, where we expect that we will be forming a layer droplets by droplet. So these all stereolithography, and these are all old processes, mostly like started with the polymers, but still they are finding applications. So there are varieties of well-established process. So why we are going to newer process, or why we are researching in this newer process, that also you will realize as we proceed further. So now the idea of giving you this slide, the detailing in this slide is that there are some specific process which are for metal, which is the core concept or the core focus of this uh, Atal. Okay. So we have processes like direct metal laser sintering. So you can have a processing facility, okay, with metal. Even electron beam melting facility is also there. So these are also established processes. Even laminated object manufacturing, this is like goes in both way, where we can like make a product with metal as well as with plastic or polymers. Okay. So both, basically, if you are using the metal, we rely on ultrasonic process, okay, using the ultrasonic ramming or their pulse frequency, okay, of hitting the metals. We try to build the product layer by layer. So yes, we are having unconventional process interference in the process of metal additive manufacturing, where we use unconventional processes as assistive tool, okay, like laser, electron beam, okay, then ultrasonic. So yes, these things are used, okay, to process metals, because nowadays there is a need of processing metals, okay. So the era of processing polymers through additive manufacturing is like losing interest, but it has not died off. But now this metal processing is coming up because of the application or the requirement, mostly in aerospace field. Okay, so I think you might be knowing about this process. Now, when you try to understand this process and their application and their interest or their scope, you will realize that there is some gap, there is some scope which we can always encash, okay, to develop some new application, or let's say a new process. Okay. So mostly when we are using metals, we have two options. Either we can use metals as a powder form. Again, it has been recommended in 2010 by ISO, or we can use wire. So either we can sinter powder, or we can melt wire to form a layer by layer to get a product. So these all are covered under the philosophy of direct energy deposition. Okay. But mostly these application started with repair work, not for building any product. Nowadays they are being like used extensively to manufacture products. Okay. So these processes, as you go down, for example, if I'm switching from laser to EBM to ultrasonic to metal binder jetting process, okay, you'll find the reliability or the robustness or the belief of making the metal additive product is getting degraded. That means the confidence which you will have, or the process establishment which you will see in, like, let's say laser assisted process, let's say lens if you talk, okay, which stands for laser engineered net shaping process. Okay. So you have more flexibility, more confidence, more reliability if you are using lasers. So lasers are overruling additive manufacturing, no doubt about that. Okay, followed by EBM, then you have ultrasonic, then you have metal binder jetting. But most of the application, you will find they are surrounded with laser as major energy provider process or a tool, okay, or mechanism. Okay. Now, there are some of the limitations which you will find on this process. Even laser also has to ensure that if you can work in vacuum, you get better output. Okay, so there are research papers which recommend that even if you are working with laser, try to see that if you can work in vacuum, okay, non-reactive atmosphere, you get a better product, okay, better reliable or robust product. And EBM, the mandatory requirement is vacuum. Okay, so yes, in a lot of the process, the upper topmost process where we have major belief that yes, they will be very much helpful. Usually they require a supporting atmosphere, okay, in terms of vacuum. Okay. Then there are some issues which are very much common, like you can see in this photograph also, like cracking, okay, and formation of metal balls, okay, like the reason of this formation of metal ball is like during your processing, okay, the layer by layer processing, usually the thermal conductivity is not maintained to the desired level, and you get a defect of metal balls. And the idea is always to convert this metal ball into a proper fused layer, which is like still a problematic thing. Cracking is one of the major problem, okay, because there is a huge thermal gradient difference whenever you are processing this type of uh, metallic materials using additive manufacturing. Delamination is an issue. Swelling is an issue. Okay? So obviously, highlighting these issues, we have to see that can we eliminate some of these issues, okay, using something called as electric arc, okay, or some fundamentals where we can use electric arc. Because if you see all this above process, you'll find that yes, there is a scope of using electric arc as one of the energy provider tool, okay, which would be quite different from the already established or available processes. So here comes the basic requirement or necessity of like going to a newer process, okay, which we will be discussing in further. So the idea was to just give you a background that why we are moving to a newer process, because we have to see that if we can like get some better facility in terms of vacuum, okay, can we avoid that thing. So yes, we have this process CMT where we are not believing in on vacuum. Cracking are also less. We don't allow the layer to form metal balls. Okay, so it all depends on your material and parametric setting, whatever we are using. Delamination is also less. Swelling also we don't allow, because we are like adjusting, or the process is getting adjusted in microseconds or within seconds. There are a lot of uh, physics going on which try to ensure that at least this can be reduced or controlled. So let's switch over to now the processing of things using electric arc. Okay, but before that, there is more some interesting thing which you can observe, and it is published recently in research paper 2020, where now they talk about beamless metal additive manufacturing process, where they say that we will try to remove the beam or energy sources. Okay, so that's why now the category of metal additive as per this paper is being divided into two different variants, like beamless metal additive methods and beam based metal additive methods. So you can see the classification. You will find it like self-explanatory, where we have, let's say, liquid metal jetting process, which is basically a beamless process. Okay, then you have ultrasonic. You don't have beams here. On the contrary, if you see the other part, okay, like laser as a one of the like mechanism, electron beam as the other mechanism. So you'll find these are beam based additive manufacturing process, but nowhere you'll find that something is using arc. So if you like, you can read this thing, or if it is visible, you'll find at only one place you'll find there is a role of arc. So you can understand that how much scope, okay, this process have, and you see where it forms. It forms into the category of beamless metal additive methods. So we are discussing, or we will be like deliberating on this domain, which is a part of beamless metal additive method. Okay. Again, this is from recent reference. So we have built enough background, and I don't think there is a need to tell you about the historical development in metal additive manufacturing. Maybe some speaker might have been covered also. Maybe in coming days they might be covering the things. The idea of presenting this slide is like, see the era 1984 and where we are now. Okay, so there are list of developments, but nowadays you'll find the development of additive manufacturing is like going, or diverging to many fields, whether you talk about biomechanics or let's say aerospace products and lot many things. People are still working on that. So the area is still well researched. Okay. In other words, in some area you'll find a lot of research is required. Okay. So we will come just at the boundary of cold metal transfer, but we find some similarity of this cold metal transfer process to yet well established process, that is cold metal additive manufacturing. So if you can anytime refer this paper, you will understand that people are developing good understanding or uh, well optimized process understanding on this cold spraying. Okay? So this cold spraying basically what it does, it works in solid state, okay, where we say that there is no proper melting or allow the metal to reach to the melting point. Okay, so there are different like physics which we will be using, physics of friction stir, ultrasonic welding. Okay, and mostly this cold spraying are suitable for non-ferrous material, okay, like aluminum, magnesium, and copper. And mostly this cold spraying is used for coating purpose, okay, where we try to spray the things or spray mostly the powder, okay, with high velocity. Okay, but if you want to use wire, okay, and if you want to deposit this wire as a coated thing, okay, obviously then you cannot throw the wire with high velocity. So even this process appears to be one of the solution, okay, uh, but still the scope of using wire is still lagging. Okay, so now we are just building why we are going to new process, because I have to show you the disadvantage or limitations, okay, of other process which are in close periphery or competitor of these processes. So we are discussing on this thing. Otherwise, philosophy wise, if you see, yeah, am I getting some query?
No, sir, you can continue.
Okay, fine. So, like, you see, if you are using this cold spraying process, okay, and if you want to process the material through this cold spraying, so there are work where they say that we can use this to hard to deform materials. Even we can like use coating of this materials to any substrate, okay, relatively soft materials, okay, and materials of moderate strength. So research are available where these type of coatings are well developed, but the complexity like increases as you move upward. Okay, so the complexity with stainless steel is less as compared to developing the spray or coating with these materials because they are hard to deform. So again, we say that fine, get a solution if you have. Uh, let's try to work in this domain where we can use electric arc between two electrode. Okay. Uh, So again, when we talk about arc, people mostly get confused with spark and arc. So I thought let us have one line where we can differentiate what is spark and what is arc. Okay? So when we talk about arc, okay, especially electric arc, we are talking about continuous electric discharges. Whereas when you go for sparks, it is for very short duration. So rather, the idea of picking this two terminology is because you'll find the application of this two terminology very nicely managed in the CMT process. So sometimes CMT process act like an arc, sometimes it act like a spark producing device or like the mechanism which like CMT is using. It try to see that there is involvement of spark as well as the involvement of arc also. Okay, and the mechanism of electric arc is very much well known to us. And if you want to increase arc length, it is proportional to voltage. So anytime if you are working with arc length, okay, you have to see that you have to like see that some modification or some control you develop on AC voltage with which you will be generating this arc. Okay? So I hope we have built up the enough background of this surrounding processes which are near to cold metal. So now let us come to the process which is like the agenda of our discussion, that is cold metal additive manufacturing. Okay. So in this, and details are very nicely narrated in Zhang's paper published in 2018. There are other papers also, but I found this detailing in this paper in a very simple and very effective manner. So when we talk about cold metal, additive manufacturing. Mostly this cold metal additive manufacturing process, in short, it is written as CMT, okay, which stands for cold metal transfer. So now, although this is a misnomer word that things would be cold, and if it is cold, you cannot transfer metal because it will be a solid object. But here the cold word is actually a relative word. Okay, relative to your expected heat input, it is much low, and that's why it is like concluded as a cold metal transfer. So metal will be hot, okay, but not that hot which you expect with the voltage which you are providing, or the already well established fundamentals of electricity and electric arc generation. They are not matching with this uh, metal melting. Okay, so it is relatively very low, and that's why we say that it is a cold metal. So it's actually not a cold. We cannot go word by word, but yes, relatively it's cold. Okay, because with that much voltage, you can produce a very high temperature, okay, or very you can attain a high temperature for melting a metal. Even with respect to that, it will be at a lower side. So what actually this process does? So this process says that, okay, fine, we will give a heat, okay, which will be relatively low as far as transfer process is concerned. Okay, so this again here, the important thing is the temperature which we are reducing is not going to affect the performance of additive manufacturing. Whatever melting temperature is required to melt something to form a layer, that has to be attained, but the spread of that heat transfer, okay, that need to be controlled in such a way that it is as good as cold. Okay, so wherever we want a weld zone or wherever we want a layer, okay, there we are creating sufficient amount of heat, but we are not allowing a zone which we call it as heat affected zone to be very large. So this heat affected zone, we will try to see that it is as minimum, or we'll try to keep it as cold as possible. So you can take this as a relative word. Okay, so how this process does that thing. Okay, so what it does is it transfer the metals in droplets. So this is the a patented thing or key things which is being exploited, okay, extensively by uh, CMT process. Okay. Otherwise, we do have droplet process, which we have discussed in jetting process in our earlier slide. So it's not that droplet is coming for the first time, and that's what the idea to discuss the other process so that you can correlate the application or physics of this process with the other process. So here we are trying to deposit the materials not as a solid material but as droplets. So we can say that yes, we are dropping one drop and then again the other drop on it and again other drop on this, and that's how we are trying to bring the layer concept in that, and we are building a layer by layer thing with proper fusion between these layers. But at the same time, the patented mechanism is develop in such a way that the heat affected zone which you form near to this droplets are minimum. Okay? And the added advantage what we get is we generally see almost no spatter, okay, in this process. Otherwise, we take any electric arc process, spattering is very predominant there. So this is that cold metal transfer process, which you will find is slightly an extension of your cold spraying process, okay, with some changes like adding some droplets. So now if you are depositing the metal with droplets, you need not have to think of that velocity, which is a main like parameter or main factor in your cold spraying. Okay, so and in cold spraying we were having limitation of using wire, but here the prime importance is given to wire arc because the arc, okay, is being created at the end of wire. So here you create the arc, and this arc then is converted into droplets, and then you ensure that this droplets is deposited on the substrate, whichever is your substrate. And that's how you start developing layer by layer thing. Okay. So now the CMT process is now combined with this wire added arc additive manufacturing, and mostly people now talk about CMT assisted WAM. Okay. And WAM again, like wire arc additive manufacturing again is a special field. You have a lot of options here, but the CMT now becomes one of the options of exploiting the wire arc additive manufacturing domain, where what we do is we directly feed the metal wire, okay, in a heated arc, okay, but the deposition rate, okay, it has to be more than 10 gram per minute. Okay. So, but in this process, you'll find because we are going for droplets, the deposition rate is nearly 10 times or more than that of what is being expected in warm process. Okay. So all these arrangements, okay, of droplets, converting this, metal wire arc into droplets are being done by modifying or controlling the pulse waveform of the electric arc. Okay. And this control or modification or processing of pulse waveform is major thing which actually does all this thing. So we'll understand what is the mechanism here. Okay. And that's how this pulse waveform control or the mechanism actually give you that droplet facility, okay, which affects your heat input and melt pull dynamics, okay, because this melt pull dynamics, one of the dynamics I have discussed with this HSA, okay, heat affected zone. Okay, so obviously if you are working with controlled heat, okay, your metallurgical defects or microstructures are much more improved than your any other normal electric arc process. So as we were discussing the variation of processes in terms of pulse waveform, okay, the same thing is been narrated in other way around using the same philosophy of electric engineering, that is variable polarity. So even we can work with uh, different polarity if ever we are not comfortable with pulse waveform control. So you have other facility of playing with the variable polarity. Those who might have worked in electric discharge machining, they would really understand what is the importance of polarity, and if you want to get a particular surface finish, how you play with that polarity. The same thing happens with this another version of CMT that is called as VP CMT, which stands for variable polarity CMT. So you try to vary the polarity between two electrodes, okay, and then what you get is you get an effective property as no porosity, okay, a fine equiaxed grain structure, okay, no oxide formation. So and you also work with this electromagnetic force or Lorentz force. Okay, you can play with this force because you will realize in this weld pull dynamics, this electromagnetic force plays a major role in developing the defects or controlling the defects. Okay, and because we are changing this variable polarity, one of the biggest advantage which we get here is we get a facility of stirring or mixing the droplets or the composition of the droplets so that you get a good fine grain size, okay, which is very much required to have a good strength in your material, the substrate. Okay. So I think now the basics of CMT we have made it clear, but yes, there are a lot of numerical simulation works are also on in this field. Since we have talked about that electromagnetic or Lorentz force, these forces are dependent on this current density vector and magnetic flux vector. So we generally work with the cross product of these current and magnetic flux vector. And if you try to relate these vectors with the geometrical parameter of your wire, okay, you will find we try to include R and Z, okay, as if the wire is in the form of a cylinder. So obviously, if you have a cylindrical wire, you know what you have to consider. This is the R, and the height, okay, is your Z. Okay. So even this electromagnetic force has some dependency. Electromagnetic force has some dependency on this geometrical parameter. Okay. So again, then it gives you a freedom to even play with powder also, but directly you can't use powder. Wire will be always there. That's why you'll find the electromagnetic force equation will surely have the terms like R and Z all the time, because that wire presence is must in this process. Otherwise, how we are going to create that R? But as an additional filler material, you can surely add uh, powder, okay, to build the layer by layer material. And that's what one of my student is working on. They are like trying to add nano powders, okay, and trying to judge the performance of the material using this additive manufacturing principle. So we have a formulation of standard formula, okay, developed from this electromagnetic equation for force, and it's not that difficult to calculate. It's very simplified formula where they are the pressure force, the arc pressure force, basically works with this geometrical parameter of radius R1 and R2, where R1 is the arc radius at welding electrode. So obviously the arc is formed like this. So this is your R1, okay, and this is the R2, okay, which finally get converted into the droplets. Okay, this is R1 and this is your R2. So you can understand that even the dynamics of generating the forces are also not that complex. Okay, only thing is it like in the logarithmic form of this uh, geometrical radius. So now this is the working which we observe in your cold metal additive manufacturing, and this is what we are seeing here as the playing of the concept of polarity. Okay, the VP-CMT which we have discussed in the earlier slide. Okay. Otherwise, if you see, you can have this filler wire, okay, and this filler wire end is getting melted, and this will be converted into your droplets, and then that droplets will be deposited in that mate pool, and likewise you will form droplets, and that's how you will be developing your layer by layer product. So here the added advantage what we get is your proper stress concentration, because we are actually not working with high intensified heat. Okay. That is again a controlled heat, or let's say a cold heat, relatively cold heat. So even the issues of stress concentration, okay, specifically at interlayer, okay, are also less in this process, because once you deposit layer by layer, okay, there are a lot of stress concentration between this interlayer region, because the material properties of bottom layer and top layer are totally independent or totally different than each other, and getting a fused joint between that has to like bear the problem of stress concentration. Okay. Since we are working with little relatively low temperature, okay, so this problem again is not a major problem if we are going for cold metal additive manufacturing process. So as we were discussing about the pulse modification or waveform modification, so when you have cold metal transfer mode as your standard mode, okay, you'll find they believe in two different phases. That means one phase is short circuit phase, where your electric arc is actually touching your base metal. Okay, so that is called as short circuit phase. And then you have burning arc phase, where this arc is being burned or supplied with the heat, so that it get detached with the electric arc and get deposited on the substrate. Okay? But this is a standard CMT mode, but you are having other modes also. This thing we have discussed, okay, variable polarity. Now this CMTP stands for CMT pulse mode, okay, where you try to change this phase, okay, into a pulse phase. So you make a trapezoidal pulse form, okay, so that the heat distribution, okay, if you try to take this area, okay, and if you try to take this area, you will find if you are breaking the whole heat into number of steps, okay, it gives you a better control or better focus on your heat distribution. The same philosophy you can find in your, nowadays braking system, okay? The disc braking, what we call. In disc braking also, you'll find they are not continuously in contact with the disc. They lose the contact, then they grab the disc. Okay? The same similar phenomena you can observe in this phase also, where we are actually playing with the pulses, but with some interruption. Okay. So, and in variable polarity, what we do is we try to change this, pulses also on either side, okay, so that it is again have a better, or like you can say better coldness, relative coldness than your other mode. Okay? So CMT mode is one, the CMT pulse mode is another one, then variable polarity is again another mode, okay, of the same transfer of cold metal from the wire into the weld pull zone. So we do have various versions or various facilities to like deal with this CMT process. Anytime if you want to have more reading, please refer this paper. It's a very good paper. Okay. Now, if you try to compare the parameters, okay, on numbers, you will find if you are going with normal CMT, you can find if you keep your heat input as same, okay, still, or even your interlayer wait time. So what is this interlayer wait time? You have to see that your layer, the first layer is formed, okay, and then after certain time where you fix a temperature to be achieved at the top layer, and after that temperature you try to see that your other layer is getting deposited, okay. So even if you keep that time as fixed, still you will find that the arc current, okay, or arc voltage, they are keep on changing, because we have to play with the pulses, okay. The pulse are modified, so as per the pulse your properties or your parameters of current and voltage are also going to change. So you can find some changes here, but when you are switching to this polarity, variable polarity CMT, you you try to fix this arc and current voltage, but only thing is you try to change the nature of the polarity, okay, to get the same or similar type of effects. So this is not that popular, variable polarity, but yes, playing with this pulses, okay, this is mostly research domain, okay, or most of the applications are getting good results by just playing with this pulse, okay, or pulse waveform, okay, which is again a backbone of this process. If you refer another process where like they have talked about the detail of the metal transfer using simulation and validation studies. So anytime if you get a chance, please refer this recent paper of Cardio in 2020. Okay. Obviously, this process tells you that yes, see this color wise also you will realize that this is the heat transfer. Okay. And if you can control this relative heat transfer, the solidified zone, okay, is again followed by this zone, which is again a very narrow zone, okay. So your solidification rate is also very much well controlled or moderate, because you are depositing relatively cold metal here. So the stresses, the temperature gradient drop, they are all very well controlled. And this is what is the wire movement, because the droplets are getting deposited. Obviously, it has to be like compensated with the wire movement. Okay? And all this data we have already like discussed here. What would be the wire movement, okay? The wire filling speed. So this all is there. So yeah, so this is like our plasma formation and these droplets, how it get deposited and how you get layer by layer. All things are very well like described here. Specifically, the droplet mechanism. Very nice detail of this droplet mechanisms are being given in this paper. Okay. Otherwise, we have already discussed. So as far as the background of this CMT process is concerned, historical perspective. So basically this CMT process has been developed by Fronius company, which is an Austrian company, and this is a patented process. Okay, although have believing only on droplet transfer, small physics, but the way they have achieved that thing that is being patented. So and fortunately we have this facility, although it's costly one, but yes, it is very much effective and is showing a good result than whatever nearest process we have, metal inert gas welding and other processes, TIG. Okay, this CMT is showing better output or better uh, results in terms of product manufacturing or product welding or product joining. Yeah, so now let us, after brief discussion on the process as such, let's nobody will believe unless we give you the output, okay, or the performance output which we got. Okay, so this is not published anywhere yet, but that's what is been researched and obtained in our lab at VNIT Nagpur. Okay, that we have assess the performance of the process, okay, but using nanofigure. So we have wire W here and we have powder, but powder is in nanofiller form. So all these things are used within the domain of whole metal transfer. Okay. So we set some objective where we have used this process, okay, with under the umbrella of VAM, okay, on stainless steel, 316L stainless steel to construct a 3D part, okay, using again additive manufacturing as the basic principle. So that was our objective, and so far we have achieved that thing, okay, with different complications and different problem, obviously. Okay. And then we have also studied the influence of nanofillers or nanopowders, okay, uh, during the development of this 3D product. Okay, but again, it appears that this is normal 3D product, but again, we have chosen some complex uh, product. But the results of this complex product, I'm not going to present here. I will be again presenting the simple layer to layer manufacturing process, okay, which is part of this 3D process. Okay? And definitely we have like established the process parameter because these process parameters vary from material to material, okay? And their output are again quantified using metal characterization technique. So we have studied microstructures and hardness, the strength and other things. So let's go into the detailing of this thing. I hope time is there. So this all is the credit goes to my two PhD students. I say Anand Vamshi is one of the dynamic and hardworking student, and the other student is Amit Motwani. These two students are really working hard on this, okay, and like cracking some out of the box results. Unfortunately, I'm not going to present that thing because we still have to do a lot of iterations on that to develop a confidence in that. So this is the CMT machine of Fronius company. Okay, and this is our lab setup, which you can see here. Okay. So this is like the argon gas cylinder. So we don't have to create vacuum, rather we have to create the non-reactive atmosphere. So we are using argon gas cylinders here, and the machine is CMT 400R, which is actually using this outlet source. And then we are having a wire feeding mechanism. You can see this disc. Okay, so we are having wires here. Okay, and this finally are being move down through this torch. So you can see this torch also, which is called as CMT torch. Okay. And then I think, yeah, somewhere here we have fitted temperature sensor, okay, infrared temperature sensor. Then we have this like work supporting platform. Okay. See the z-axis, and this is importance of this z-axis we have seen in that modeling, okay, of dealing with electromagnetic force or calculating the arc force, which is dependent on R and Z. So this is that Z. Okay, so obviously we have a mechanism to control the Z movement also. Okay. Otherwise, people use a robotic arm to do all this thing, but the funding was not that much that we could able to procure the robotic arm, because the cost of robotic arm and the cost of the whole setup are almost equal. So either I have to go with the machine or the robotic arm. We have chosen the better option of choosing the machine. Okay, but still we are getting the accuracy with this customized or developed setup of controlling the work movement with the controlled process parameters, and all credit goes to Anand and Amit, two guys of our department. Yes, somebody, yeah. Am I getting some query? Anything from any participant? Do I have to address any query? Okay, by mistake, I think. Fine. So the experimentation, how we did, or how these two guys did, they have taken a filler wire, okay, ER316LSI, okay, having a better silicon content. So you can see this thing, and substrate is also near to that, like 316L stainless steel. So, but if you see the composition difference, you'll find a difference here. That's why this is 316 LSI and this is 316L stainless steel. And these were the parameter, the optimized parameter, which these people got through a lot of iterations, okay, and a lot of literature review. Okay. So these were the set parameters which they have set on the machine with the gas flow rate of 15 liter per hour. Otherwise, we have chosen almost similar material, okay, as substrate and the deposited material, so that we can get almost similar properties. Let's say same properties as our substrate right from the first layer of deposition. So here you can see the proof of the output, what we got. So you can see this heap of layer deposited, okay? And this is all 316L, sorry, 316 LSI. Okay, so this has been deposited layer by layer, and they could go up to 160 mm, but this is not the limit. This 160 mm what we got is because of the constraints of our Z movement. Okay, if we could increase the Z movement, obviously there are chances that this height could be more than 160. So this is like the torch from where this metal has been deposited, converted into droplets, and these droplets are getting deposited here. So this is the results what we got. But again, the objective was to assess this performance of this thing. But before that, we have got some defects also, like you can see the surface waviness. It's not new thing. It's quite obvious in additive manufacturing. Okay, and there are some issues uh, because of the controlling mechanism, because we are not having robotic arm. There are some issues at start and end of this process. Okay, specifically if you are traveling from here to here, you have to stop here and then again you have to come back. Okay, so this end effects, okay, we are observing here, but for performance assessment these are being ignored. So it's not that we will always get defect free layers or defect free products. Yes, defects are there and we accept that thing. Only thing is, over the period of time we'll try to see that how we can overcome on these effects. Okay. So there is comparison where we have used warm with powder and without powder. Okay. So that we have a better understanding of the role of this nano powders, whatever we are using to generate the layers. Okay. So these are some of the parameters Okay? Like the 50 layers are being deposited, and you see this again an important thing where these people or these researchers have tried to ensure that the interpass temperature between two layers, so this is one layer and this is the other layer, the temperature in between these two layers is called as interpass temperature, and they have ensured, they are having that infrared temperature measuring device. They have ensured that it is up to it is dropping up to 150 degrees centigrade, somewhere with plus and minus to this 150 degrees centigrade. And after that, they are ensuring that they are depositing the second layer. So it is not that in continuation they are depositing continuously one layer, but again they are stopping, ensuring that this temperature drops to this, because this is an optimized temperature or optimized heat which is desirable to get the proper joint. Okay. Again, after reaching this interpass temperature, then they will deposit the second layer. Again, they will wait, then they will deposit the other layer. So the question would be very clear here why we are not depositing immediately. So you can understand that if you are going to deposit the things immediately, so the the mixing or the fusion or the fluidity problem, which is very common problem in additive manufacturing, that would be more, and we may not able to get the amount of layers which we are targeting, or in other words, we have to compromise with your Z movement or Z height of your developed product, specifically through this CMT additive manufacturing route. So this is like average height, lot of iterations are being done, and this is average wall thickness. If you see the side view, this would be your wall thickness. So this is like uh, appreciable wall thickness, okay, small wall thickness. So with this wall thickness, getting this Z height is not that easy, but yes, we got some success in that, and hopefully in future we'll uh, extend this bar also. So this is a schematic of how this is being deposited, and the powder which we are using, it's like titanium carbide powder, that you a nano powder, I think is of 50 nanometer size. Okay? And this is our CMT torch, what you have physically seen in that setup, and that's how they are depositing. See, one layer, then again second layer, and then the third layer. So movements are like this, okay, but ensuring that you are getting the desirable interpass temperature. Okay. Yeah, then there is a comparison between the two specimen, where in one specimen we have used powder, and in other specimen we have just used wire. So other is like wire plus powder forms. So you'll find some typical uh, difference in that. So this thing we have already discussed without powder, but this specimen, if you see, okay, you'll find a better layer deposition if you are using microparticles of titanium carbide. And other performances also we'll discuss in subsequent slides. And the particle size which they have used was 2 to 5 micron. Like we have compared the additive manufactured product, okay, with and without powder. Okay. And but specifically we have used nano powders. Yeah, this is again some more confirmation with nano powder. The earlier case was micro particles, and the other case is your nanoparticles of 50 nanometer size, whereas in this microparticles it was of 2 to 5 micron. So see, we were having three variations. One was without powder, but with powder also we have like uh, developed the product with macro and nanoparticles. And then for characterization, we have cut the standard specimen because we want to check this strength. And while cutting this samples, again, proper procedure is being followed. We have used standard wire cut EDM process, okay, to cut this so that we don't induce any extra mechanical stresses or residual stresses while cutting this specimen. And if you can see, we have tried to cover the different directional properties. So one specimen is along the layer, other is totally perpendicular to the layer, and somewhere is like entirely compromising with between this horizontal cut specimen and vertical cut specimen, maybe along the principal planes, you can say. Okay. And this is as per the standards which have been prescribed for material testing tensile specimen. And so these are the specimen which we have like cleared from this developed layer. And yes, then before testing, there was a procedure which was followed in terms of the preparation of samples, and these are all regular process, nothing to do with your CMT process. So like degreasing, then like improving the surface finish. Okay, so these all things are nowhere like affected by CMT process. I'll skip this thing, but yes, the efforts are being done as per the procedure to make this specimen as the standard specimen. And so these are all again different parameters, may not be directly linked with the process, but yes, these were used like powder particles of 0.75 weight percentage. These are all like descriptive things, but these are the results what we got. Now if you see the same image specifically at higher magnification, you will find very smooth distribution of these grains, okay, without any major defects what we have discussed like porosity, cracking, bulging. So we could hardly get that thing even in this characterized images of the specimen. So this image, whatever you are seeing, is at the center location, because we believe that at the start and at the end, okay, these layers are subjected to some outside environment. For example, at the start, they are like dependent on the base material, okay, whereas on the other end they are subjected to ambient conditions. So we have taken a like moderate area, okay, for this analysis, and we are getting pretty good results. Only thing is now we have to see, can we get some more better uh, grain distribution, or let's say better microstructure than this thing, although this is also not that bad because we are hardly getting any defects or any problematic things, any like foreign inclusion or porosity or any cracking. Okay? So that is not been seen here. So this means that the addition of your powders, okay, specifically nano powders, carries some meaning in the process. So we are still working on that. Uh, and if you try to check the material composition or material distribution or the chemical distribution of this material, you'll find the components, okay, which are supposed to be well distributed, they are not affected in that sense. For example, if you see this iron component, okay, and this iron component again, if you see here, silicon is there what it should be. Okay, so we could not get any major change of the material property or the material characteristics. So that again is a good like observation. Despite of subjecting the process to lot of heat and lot of layers, still we are trying to get like somewhat moderate composition distribution over this uh, layer, specifically the central layer. So again, this shows you the phase conformation, okay? And we get some unusual component. Okay? So we are still in the process of checking this nickel component, chromium, molybdenum. So this is again a matter of research, but the idea here is that you get some unusual observations, but unless we get confidence in this with some more processing, we cannot jump on any physics. So we are still seeing some more samples to get more know-how about how these newer elements are getting added in this. Yeah, so like this is not that important. So yeah, so we can see this addition of nanoparticles, and after adding nanoparticles, we could hardly see any major changes in the substrate. Okay. But as far as strength and other things are concerned, we'll find some better improvement in that. So these are all magnified images, metal distribution, and see the distribution of titanium, how uniformly they have been distributed. Okay. Because I think in earlier slide, we have talked about the steering mechanism, which is being generated by in the droplets, okay, of CMT, which is again dependent on that electromagnetic force, which we have discussed in the earlier slide, and the effect of that, we have got it here. You can see how nicely these titanium elements are distributed over the sample, the microstructural sample.
Sir, what mechanism?
The steering mechanism, I think you might have joined late, so I will take you to that slide where we have discussed how this steering happens. Uh, you see this somewhere, yeah, see oscillation and steering of the material particles in the droplets because of this electromagnetic Lorentz force, and because of that we have like studied this model also, because it was important at the later stage. That's why I made it very clear at the initial presentation. Is it okay? Somebody was curious to know what was that. Okay, so okay, 411. Now the space conformation is not that important. So you can see if you try to analyze the material distribution or material characteristic at different end along the height of the developed specimen. So this is your z-axis. Then you will find at the center. So you will now understand why we have chosen the sample at the central location, because if you see two extreme ends, you will get a lot of variations here. Okay? But here you get clear-cut demarcation or clear-cut understanding, specifically at the central layers, okay, of what is the distribution of another property, mechanical property, that is hardness. Okay? So you get better understanding, better clarity of hardness variation, okay? And the effect of addition of this nanoparticles in this CMT process. Fine, I think I have to restrict myself, as so these are all current researches which are going on. So I won't discuss. Just to recap what we discussed earlier. So through this slide, we'll try to just go to the recap. So we have a process, okay, which is being used in additive manufacturing, that is cold metal transfer, which try to use the filler wire, try to generate the arc, okay, and in the well pool it generate the droplets, and these droplets get deposited here, and this process again continuous because this wire is being moved inside this torch, and this all is electrically controlled, okay, using the pulse forms, and as per this pulse formation they try to, like, control the droplet feed or formation of the droplets. Just to give you a quantitative figure, this droplet deposition take place 65 to 75 times in a second. Okay, so it is that fast. Okay, so we have procured high speed camera also to capture all these effects, okay, at a higher frame rate. So because this is a very fast process, and this is all pulse distribution. I think we have already covered this thing, but there are some phases like arcing period, so we have to control that arcing period, short circuiting period, because these two periods actually form the whole well cycle. But the interesting thing which you'll find here in CMT is, most of the time this current is usually kept well stabilized than the voltage. And earlier slide we have seen that this arc length is getting affected with voltage. So the process is also playing with the voltage waveform than the current waveform. So most of the time we'll see it is a stabilized waveform as far as current is concerned. So I think with this I have the other case studies also. Okay. But I think it is 4:15 and I have to give 15 minutes for discussion. So let me There are references also. The thank you slide. Okay, so I think it's at the end. So thank you very much to everyone for listening, for giving me an opportunity. Thanks to everybody. So I'm concluding this presentation, and as per norms, I think if you have any
Yes,
queries,
sir. Exactly. You've done 1 hour 15 minutes means 1 hour 15 minutes.
right. So as a teacher, I ensure that time we have to meet. So
Okay.
that is
So now the session is open for discussion. If you have any queries, please post it. Actually, either you can post it in the chat box or you can ask also.
right. Even after this also, if you have any queries, you can contact me from my website email address, or you can contact TVK sir. Okay. So he last time also he has forwarded some queries to me. So I'll be happy to receive that queries because it gives us motivation, or let's say, some direction to think on some newer domain, because uh, thinking from multiple brains is always better than thinking with limited brains. So we'll be happy to receive all type of comments, suggestions, or queries.
Sir, good evening, sir. This is Pradeep Kumar
Yes,
from
Pradeep.
Shastra Deemed University. Yes, sir. That is a very nice presentation, sir. I do have one question. When you are adding this powder, titanium uh,
Carbon.
powder, so do you see any grain refinement in the microstructure because of adding the
Yes, sir.
titanium
Rather, if
carbide?
right, right. Yes, grain refinement is there because if think okay, now this is a different material. If you see these pictures, although it's not up to the grain level, but you can understand the changes. Okay? See this grain boundaries. If you can see here, like this one. Okay? These grain boundaries are, you can say, are very much fine if you move in this domain. You can see here. Here you can easily locate, okay, or here you can easily say that okay, fine, this is one of the grains, okay, or maybe a size. But if you move on the other side, you will hardly find that boundary. So it is that much fine that we hardly able to distinguish. Not at all place, but yes, at some places you'll find they are much finer than other parts. Okay? A lot of figures to support that lesser magnification. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, we are getting a good green refinement, no doubt about
okay, sir. So that means
it.
it is a
I'll
very
show you the
fine
proof
grain
also.
structure because of this. We're getting.
Yes, and the reason is quite clear here, because see, if your grain distortion, one of the reason is your high temperature, and since we are having a control on the temperature, it was very obvious to get much finer grain than your other process. Let's say talk in terms of MIG and all thing. And the same thing in some slide I have already discussed that thing also, that effect of grains on temperature. So yes, you are bound to get proper grain refinement, okay, with this controlled temperature process. Uh, I think somewhere I have discussed that thing, but not able to recall where I've discussed that. Okay, but it's there because of temperature. I think in some slide we have discussed that if you have better temperature control, definitely you are going to get fine grain. Is it okay? Have I answered your query?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other query, please?
So sorry that I could not able to touch the other part, but maybe we will develop more confidence on CRNO additive manufacturing, and then we'll come back to you again.
Sure. Sure. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. If you don't have any queries, let us all thank Dr. Nitin Kumar Lautre for his excellent presentation on cold metal transfer as an metal additive manufacturing process. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One
Thank
small
you, sir.
question, sir. Last question. So,
Yes, yes.
yes, sir. Regarding the tensile specimens that you have made, what is the ASTM standard, sir? Is it a subsize specimen?
ASTM standard, did I mention that thing? Sorry, I could not recall that. But if you want the proper ASTM standard, I can mail you that thing.
Okay, okay, sir. That would be great.
Just give me the details what you want, and then I will mail the standard to you. Sorry,
Yes, sir.
I'm unable to recall that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Even if that would have been there in PPT, I could have taken you there, but I know that it's not there. But thanks for your question.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you to all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. And we'll end up this today's session at this point. And tomorrow again, we are going to meet at 9:30 sharp. So till that time, take care and bye for now. Thank you.